Salutations!
Welcome to the Film Mages Podcast, where the popcorn is our ammunition, the couch is our foxhole, and the cinema is a place of worship.
Now let me see your war face. Ah!
And we have Blast Off on the Film Majors.
Wow, you introduced the show so quick. Good job,
I didn't even do that on purpose. I was going to do the Apollo 11 liftoff thing, but
I'm really proud.
Didn't do that. Are you actually really proud? You're just, Alexis, you do this. You say you're proud, but then I find out like weeks later that you were lying about being proud, and then I feel like a jerk.
When have I ever said out loud that I wasn't proud of you?
Yeah. Wait, when have you ever said, Mick, I'm not proud of you?
Yeah, when have I ever said that out loud?
You don't say it with your words, but you say it with your eyes. Like, I will do things and I look at you.
I'm too far away for you to see things with my eyes.
I just know that Alexis is saying, I am so fucking not proud of what's happening in front of me right here.
I mean, and why would she be? Anyways.
Oh, okay.
Hello.
You know what? Actually, that's a great point.
Yeah, see?
I mean, most of the time, I just don't know what's going on between you guys.
No! Nice! I was about to introduce us! God damn it! Oh, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of that.
God.
That was pretty slick.
You fucker. Oh,
Fuck you guys.
Wow.
Oh, she's giving us the finger.
Slicker than a baby
God
seal.
Damn, 2 episodes in a row.
That's
well,
right.
at least Mick introduced the show. I'm Zach.
I'm Mick.
I'm Alexis.
God.
Wow.
The fucking...
It's just...
Just the
It's a good thing
the
she's on Zoom.
shit stirrer of the podcast, Alexis Avizia.
Yeah. Hey, speaking
It's
of what's
me.
going on, Alexis, are you at your new place? No, or are you not?
No, I'm in the living room of the other one. To be honest, I had a lot of deadlines at work this week and have not painted my bedroom closet yet, and that's literally the last thing that I need to do before I actually move in.
Nice.
But I have been working like from home over there, like in my office room. It's
How's
nice.
it feel?
It's quiet.
Have you started calling it the study yet?
I have not started calling it the study yet, but I did have like a really nice little fantasy of like making a little bookcase like kind of above the closet and having like one of those like, rolling ladders. And then I was like, that's stupid. Why would I have a rolling ladder for one shelf above the closet?
Get one.
Fucking cool.
Because it's cool.
Because it's fucking cool.
I fucking support that.
Exactly.
We all want ladders.
Yeah.
That's
Should we
sick
get
as
a
fuck.
ladder for the apartment?
I've thought about it. I've wanted our Blu-ray shelf to be so big that we have to get on a ladder
Oh my god, that'd be cool.
to get. Yeah,
Like, oh my God,
yeah.
I would just love to see you do that exactly like Belle in Beauty and the Beast. Like at the very beginning when she's just like, I don't know,
Wait.
she's like,
Yeah, when she's like,
Wait, are
on
you
the-
referring to the live-action version or the animated one?
the animated one.
All
okay.
I know is that if Mick were doing that, I'd hope he isn't wearing any panties.
You know I don't.
Oh yeah. We
He
both watched
definitely wouldn't be
Challengers.
wearing panties.
We both watched
Yeah.
Challengers.
That's right, Alexis. You haven't seen Challengers yet. You said
I haven't, so you guys can't say
we cannot spoil anything.
important.
Okay.
Well, Zach and I
You can
watched
only
Challengers.
talk about how cool it was.
It was pretty fucking cool.
Can we talk about how bad it was?
No, because I already read your review and I know you don't think that.
Damn it.
Yeah, no, it was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I was. There have now been 4 2024 releases that I thoroughly enjoyed, and Challengers has joined that bunch.
Yeah.
Man, fucking Josh O'Connor.
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
Right?
what a fucking star.
Yeah. So that's the first.
Yes, I caught that during the last episode and I didn't correct you.
That's the first correction corner I have. One of 2. The next one's coming up later. Last episode, listeners, I so apologize for this. I'm especially embarrassed because I'm a big fan of him and I feel like I've been kind of championing him. And I called him Josh O'Connell for some reason.
for shame.
I don't know what the fuck. Yeah, Josh O'Connor, I agree with you, Zach, he's so good in this movie. I
Yeah.
like that you called him a scoundrel because that's exactly what he is.
He is. He's got that, like, I mean, it's not the same energy, but he's got that same, like, young Harrison Ford thing where you're like, oh, you rascal.
Yeah.
You rapscallion of a man.
You love him.
God. God,
he's so charismatic.
You're hot.
Yeah.
Although he is British
Young
and he got them
Harrison
big
Ford.
ears.
He does have big ears.
He got them big ears.
But he's not as big as Adam Driver.
No, and you know what? I will say I am a proponent.
Which is exactly who I thought of as soon as you said big ears.
Yeah. Big hands, big ears, big
man.
big talent.
But no, yeah, I like a leading man who doesn't look like an action figure.
Yeah,
and
or just like a model right off of Vogue. Like he doesn't look like he was made in a test tube.
This is a man with character,
yes,
and a man with fucking charisma.
Well, when I reviewed La Chimera in the last episode, that's what I meant. Whereas like he's not conventionally like attractive in the classic sense. He's or I guess you could say he is attractive in the classic sense, just not in like the current contemporary super airbrushed kind of look. Like he has character. He's got those cheekbones. A lot of people, I think rightfully so, are comparing him to Cillian Murphy.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, especially because he was on the red carpet and someone asked him like, "Oh, like what's your TikTok?" He's like, "I'm so sorry, I don't know what that is." And then left. I was like, "That was cool."
Yeah, we've talked a lot about how hot Josh O'Connor is, and not about how good the movie is. Which it's
That's
very
true.
good.
I loved it.
I'm enjoying this rhetoric.
Yes, it's right.
I know you are.
Yeah, I don't know about you,
I know
Zach.
what you want to hear.
Somebody has to be on my level sometimes.
Yes. So as I was watching this film, I adored it. I saw it in theaters, and there's a moment where Josh O'Connor's character says, "I'd let her fuck me with a tennis racket," and I laughed out loud like that. And my girlfriend
Did you
leaned
feel
over.
that in your soul?
My girlfriend leaned over and said, "You totally just outed yourself." Because she said, like, as I did that, a bunch of people just, like, looked at me. And I was like, yeah. But as much as I enjoyed it, I knew that I was like, this movie is dripping with Alexis.
Oh, Alexis, you're gonna love it. You're gonna go crazy for it.
I've been talking about this movie, like, all week.
This is going to be your Saltburn for this year.
Except it's good.
Well, they're both good, but I think this is better. I think this is quite a bit better.
I think this will be a Saltburn that we are unified on.
Yes.
I would not be at all surprised if
A unified Saltburn?
A unified
Saltburn
Yeah.
in the sense that it's a horny film from this year.
Yeah, and what I loved about the way it was
Universal
captured,
bathwater?
Yes, great. What I really appreciated how it was shot is it was so intentional. They didn't use coverage.
Yeah.
Everything is so meticulous.
The tennis sequences are fucking stellar.
Yeah.
And I am not someone who's really remotely interested in tennis.
Neither is Luca Guadagnino. He has said that he's bored by tennis.
He made it very exciting.
Yes, he did. So really quickly, I know someone who worked on the movie. And I'm not going to say who it is, but they had some stories to share.
Oh.
And said that I could share some of them as long as I kept it anonymous.
Okay.
So,
spill that tea, girl.
This movie apparently went quite a bit over budget because they spent so much time getting it exactly right. The scene with the banana. Oh, Zach, you know what I speak of.
Yes, I believe so.
I'm intrigued.
The banana scene.
Yeah.
It's quick.
Right? Yeah, it's like a shot.
They spent 9 hours on that.
Oh my God.
9 hours. And at one point, Amy Pascal, who's one of the big producers.
Yeah,
from New
she
York,
also produces the Spider-Man movies.
Right. She apparently came to the tennis court set screaming, like, "You have got to stop this. This is crazy." And my friend who worked on the movie speaks Italian. Lucas is Italian, and said that he could hear him at Video Village talking about, "Oh, like, God, I need to talk to my lawyers. This is ridiculous. They don't give me enough time. Not enough time to create. I'm here to make art."
Oh, well, that's probably relevant to something we're going to be talking about in a bit.
Exactly. But I have to say, Luca, it sounds like obviously you did not get the time that you wanted, but the time that you did get, you created one hell of a picture.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Also, a friend of mine, Al, who I follow on Letterboxd, referred to this movie as "Y tu tennis coach tambien."
Yes.
And I think
LOL.
that's a good I think if you go into this movie with Y Tu Mama Tambien in mind in terms of some of the dynamics,
Yep.
you will not be disappointed.
Zendaya is so good.
Oh my God, yeah.
Wow.
She is incredible.
This year is the year where I'm like really seeing Zendaya as an actress.
Yeah.
Because to be fair, I have never watched Euphoria. I've seen like two.
neither.
I've seen the first episode of season 1 and the first episode of season 2 shown to me by different people.
Oh.
Yeah, the end roommate was the
Interesting.
second one.
Oh, nice.
Unsurprisingly. But yeah, I don't know. I had only really seen Zendaya in the, MCU Spider-Man movies. And, she's fine in those, but, didn't blow me away by any stretch. And yeah, I would not have anticipated the performances she gives both in Dune Part 2 and Challengers. She is in 2 of my 4 movies this year that I have felt strongly about. So,
So same for me with Zendaya, and same for me with Josh O'Connor, who's now in 2 movies that are currently in my top 10 list of the year that's currently forming.
wow.
So-
yeah, I gotta see La Chimera.
You're really going to like it. Alexis, you should really watch that too, because it gives very Call Me By Your Name vibes. Not in terms of story, but in terms of location and just vibe and everything.
Plus,
It's really great.
we've got to find a new white boy for Alexis.
We really do.
We've got to find.
We need a new
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
I feel like it's really drying up out here.
Well, speaking of Alexis white boys, I did see one other new release this week.
Okay.
I was doing Uber Eats on the west side, and had some downtime in the middle of my day, and
I feel like we need some like film noir music underneath that.
I was like,
I was delivering Uber Eats on the west side.
yeah, good. That's film noir.
That was my Minnesota accent.
I had I had like 2.5 hours to kill before it got busy again, and I was like, I'm right by the AMC Century City.
We are not sponsored. We are not sponsored by AMC.
But if you'd like to.
But if you'd like to.
And I, decided to see what was playing, and I ended up seeing an afternoon screening of Boy Kills World, starring Bill Skarsgård.
How was it?
It was fine.
Okay.
I love Bill Skarsgård.
Me too.
I'm aware. Listen, if you want to see...
Hey, speaking of white boys, there we go.
Yeah,
that was a good segue.
Yeah, if you want to see this, I will say this for Alexis. If you want to see Bill Skarsgård looking fucking just ripped as hell, looking like Alexander Skarsgård,
Hell yeah.
watch Boy Kills World.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that
Interesting.
if we don't have a ton of under 18 listeners to this podcast, but if you are a 15 to 18-year-old boy, you should go see Boy Kills World, because that is a perfect high school boy movie. It's got kind of a crass and like irreverent sense of humor. It's ultra violent. I feel like for me, when I saw Deadpool in 2016, I think the teens of today could have a similar reaction to Boy Kills World. Yeah, I didn't love it. I felt like I didn't love how the action was shot. It kind of had that Kingsman thing going on, where there's a lot of like CGI stitching together
What is
of
his
shots.
name? The director and producer?
Matthew Vaughn,
Matthew
who has gotten worse and worse with that.
Yeah.
It had some of that, which I didn't hugely care
It's
for.
kind of like a music video.
Yeah, but
yeah.
I will say it's a reasonably big budget, original action, R-rated action film. So I'm always gonna support that. If you're looking for something fun and innocuous to see, I'd recommend it. Also, it does make the brilliant choice of having Bill Skarsgård's internal monologue be done by H. John Benjamin.
And Bill Skarsgård is why I want to see it.
Yeah, those are the two best elements of the movie. So yeah, it's a soft recommend of Boy Kills World.
I'm definitely Yeah, I'm gonna see it for sure. You gave it good reviews. It has my boy Famke Janssen in it.
Famke Janssen.
I love Famke Janssen. Famke, I'm a fan of the Famke.
I just feel
I'm
like
a Famke fan.
Famke. I feel like there's no way it's Famke.
It's Famke Janssen.
She's not from. She's
you
not
want me to
from
list
Minnesota.
the titles that she is in?
Stop doing this.
Endless.
God.
She's in everything.
Mick's been doing this bit where he tells me that Famke Janssen is in a movie, and she's not
She
usually.
is. She is. I don't
All
know
right.
why.
Anyways, Alexis, have you seen...
Why would you tease him like that?
Yeah, right?
That's a good point. Why do I tease Zach? I'll have to really ruminate on that one for a while.
You sexy little mix. Alexis, hey, what have you seen this week? Anything?
That's a great question. And to my knowledge, I have seen nothing. Nothing. I think I watched a few episodes of something called Heartbreak High, but other than that, I was literally went to LA, came back from LA, worked all day, and then I went out on Friday night. And to be honest, the next day I was useless all day. Didn't watch anything. I finished my 30 chapter fan fiction, that I was halfway done with. And
Reading or writing?
That's my life right now. Reading,
okay.
Baby, reading. Yeah.
How was the movie that you worked on this week? How did that go?
It was good. Yeah. I mean, I think I told you guys about it when I came to pick up in roommate's jacket. That was the last day that I was on set because I had to go home the next day to go back to work.
For surely.
Tight.
Nice.
Yeah. So, no, it was fun. It was great. To be honest, though, I spent so much time indoors that being outdoors for even 8 to 10 hours of a day, I was so fucking tired when I came back to Fresno. I was exhausted all day Wednesday, and then I had to go to a psychiatrist appointment to see if I could get medication for the ADHD, and he was such a dick. I fucking hate that guy.
Man, fuck that guy.
Fuck that guy.
I won't say his
name.
name. Won't say his name on here, obviously, but there's some energy that I would put out into the world, and it's that guy should literally sit on barbed wire or something, because fuck him. He made me have I don't know if it was a panic attack or just a little meltdown, within 5 minutes of meeting him. It was horrible. I had to step outside of the office and then come back in to talk to him. Fuck that guy. He basically told me that it wasn't possible that I could have ADHD in adulthood or the other thing. And then by the end of the fucking meeting, he was like, okay, so yeah, I am going to give you the fucking prescription for the medication. I was like, okay, you fucking piece of shit. Did I just have to tell you how difficult my life is and traumatized I am? Love it. Living for it. That's what my week was like, guys. I love it.
So,
then
Alexis...
I watched this movie.
Welcome to Boat Month.
God.
Oh, hooray. Ready to set sail?
Yeah. Alexis, so you're saying that if you were on the Purge cast, you have a solid contender for who you would be purging this week.
That's true.
Hypothetically, in a world of jokes and comedy.
100% hypothetically, in a world full of jokes, I know exactly the bitch I would be fucking purging. Very hard.
All right.
Hell yeah. Now, Mick, I understand that you watched at least one other film.
Yes.
That was not a new release.
That is true. You said not a new release. Okay. You could be speaking of one of two movies.
All right. Well, I saw one on your Letterboxd.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to go with that one. I'm going to go with I finally saw with you.
Yes,
The movie that...
Yes, we watched The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Thank you. I totally left my brain for a second. I'm like, Zach, help me out here.
Which one?
The David Fincher
The
2011
remake.
version.
Yeah.
With Rooney Mara?
Yes. I don't know is that the better one or not the good one?
I have generally heard that's the better one.
Okay. I do want to watch
I don't...
the original Swedish language one.
I don't think I've seen the original Swedish language one, but I did read, I think, like 2 of the 3 books, or maybe I did finish the 3rd book. I can't remember. But yeah.
I really liked it.
Traumatizing.
I think, like, all I had heard about it is that it has, like, very, very graphic sexual violence in it, and boy howdy, does it. As we watched it, I looked at you and I went, that might be one of the worst fucking things I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's pretty horrific.
It's horrific.
Grotesque.
It was marketed as the feel-bad movie of the holidays, and it earns that fucking title.
It really does.
I believe Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. I think this is a Trent Reznor quote, who, by the way, fantastic score they did on Challengers.
Yes.
One of my favorites of theirs. But they talked about how The Social Network was a real challenge for them, because that was the first movie they ever scored.
Yeah.
And when David Fincher came to them with The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and they, like, learned what it was about, Trent Reznor was like, okay, so serial killing and anal rape, that's a little more 9 Inch Nails territory. And then he was like, let me rephrase that.
Jesus
It was somewhat easier for us to do.
Why are they dragging 9 Inch Nails like that?
Because they are the 9 Inch Nails. Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross are the 9 Inch Nails.
Okay, that's right. Wow.
But yeah, that was
Interesting.
That's right?
Yeah.
For real? Oh.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
The 9 Inch Nails are now, like, maybe some
love
of
their
my
music.
Yeah, some of my favorite working composers. And I don't think I've ever listened to the 9 Inch Nails.
Well, it's just like, isn't it like John Greenwood? Isn't that his name?
Alexis, I'm a baby boy.
You fucking Gen Z
What's-
piece of shit.
Listen here, you millennial. What's your fucking Harry Potter house?
What's the name of the guy from Radiohead who's the
First of all,
composer? That's
don't
John
have
Greenwood,
one.
right?
I was half and half.
Oh my god.
I'm trying to.
Second of all,
I'm gonna.
if you've never
rein it
listened
back
to
in.
Closer by 9 Inch Nails, I just don't know who you are. You've seen fucking Rick and Morty, haven't you?
Yeah, like, yeah.
Anyways,
I mean, they play a 9 Inch Nails song at the end of, I think, the first season, or maybe it's the second season. Whenever it is that Rick gets fucking arrested.
They play. Oh, did the 9 Inch Nails do Hurt?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
but that's
oh my god. Who are you
because
people?
that's a Johnny Cash song. Even the 9 Inch Nails admit that.
Yeah, okay, who cares? But
Me!
the one that
I care.
I think of when I think of it all the time is the 9 Inch Nails version.
This is all me saying that I need to get into the 9 Inch
Yeah,
Nails
this
because
is
I
all-
love their music.
Yeah, I'm going to take it
I
one
really
more time.
want-
I'm going to attempt this one more time. But Johnny Greenwood, he's from fucking
Radiohead?
Radiohead, right?
I don't know.
He's a great composer. He does all of Paul Thomas Anderson stuff.
Yeah.
So I love these musicians that like are in these like big bands, and then they end up like doing some of the best fucking scoring of films. Great. I can't wait for Coldplay to hit us.
Tron.
Said no one.
Tron.
Jesus.
Coldplay?
No, Daft Punk,
No,
sorry.
that's Daft Punk.
Yeah.
Ooh.
This is how hard I fucking memory hold Coldplay.
Okay, so anyways, I
How
really
do you
like.
have a girlfriend in music and you're this bad with artists?
Listen, she keeps me honest.
Yeah, it's a good match because it's a good match. He knows movies, she knows music, everyone's happy.
Yeah, together we know pop culture.
Yeah, it's a happy combination. But yeah, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, I had a really good time. I can definitely relate to Stellan Skarsgård. That just like watching Daniel Craig.
Okay, who's fucking up now?
Hey, we're all fucking up. But there's something about watching Daniel Craig, whether it's Stellan Skarsgård or Mads Mikkelsen getting tortured. I like it.
He's great at getting tortured.
He's great at getting tortured. But yeah, I had a good time with a really bad time, but good movie. Glad I finally saw it. And then today I saw a classic. I finally saw Labyrinth, directed by Jim Henson.
What you think?
It was all right.
Wow.
It was. Let me rephrase that. It was good. It's a very good movie. I just wish I had grown up with it. Because
That's how I feel about Labyrinth.
coming to it late, it's not as good. I almost fell asleep at the very end. But man, that Bowie bulge. Wow.
Oh, God.
Goodness gracious. They don't make kids movies like they used to.
Just outrageous.
It's plump and satisfactory.
Jesus Christ. This has been a fucking really horny episode already, and we're like 20 minutes in.
We haven't even started talking about the big movie today. Just wait until then. So yeah, it was good. The craftsmanship that's on screen is really impressive. It's a shame that we don't have, movies for kids. It was packed. It was a family matinee at the New Beverly, and there were all these kids there, and they loved it. And it's kind of a creepy, scary movie, and they did fine with it.
Yeah, kids love a little scary movie.
They love a little scary movie. They love something that's kind of cursed.
Yeah.
Bringing back the kind of cursed kids movies. The worm.
The little worm guy at the very beginning of the maze.
Yeah.
Love that guy.
Love that guy.
That's a great guy.
man.
There are a lot of great guys in that movie.
I have a great Ludo impression, which I cannot wait to use in bed.
Do we have anything else to talk about?
Another movie I saw was the
As
new
outrageous
release.
as the bulge.
The other new movie I saw, speaking of bulge, I saw a vampire movie. Mm-hmm. And it was... It was good. It was fun. I liked it. Abigail. New film.
Did you talk about it last time?
Mm-hmm.
Did I? I don't think I did.
Okay.
But yeah, we talked about it. We talked about it in our apartment.
Sure. It's, audience, let me just say the conversations that go on in this podcast, they continue throughout Mick and I's day-to-day.
Yeah. So it's a little...
Alexis gets a break.
What's real, what isn't, we don't know. But it had the
Thank
late,
God.
great Angus Cloud, who passed away this past year. He was very popular for reasons I don't know why, but he was very talented in the
that's
movie.
He was in Euphoria.
Right, okay. He was euphoric. Alicia Ware, who plays Abigail, the ballerina vampire, was fantastic. Oh my God. She was frightening. She was funny. Sometimes I'm a little hesitant. I'm like a child actor that's going to carry a movie like this. I don't know. The marketing didn't really sell me on this is going to be a high quality film.
This was one of the worst trailers I've ever seen.
It was bad.
And I was bummed about that because I like a lot of the talent
You should
involved.
watch it.
I'll probably check it out.
It's a good movie. I can officially say that Abigail is a good film. As someone who... I love vampire films. That's one of my favorite subgenres. I was going to see it anyways, but I was just so pleasantly surprised that this movie was cleverer than I thought, and it has a fantastic cameo at the end that Alexis, you in particular, would really appreciate.
Is it Adam Driver?
No.
No.
But it's another one. It's cut from that cloth.
Okay.
But yeah, Dan Stevens was so funny.
Intriguing.
I love Dan Stevens. He's growing on me more and more.
One of my guys.
But yeah, it was like Usual Suspects meets From Dusk Till Dawn. I had a really good time. If you want to have a good vampire movie, there's one in theaters right now. So go check it out. Check out Abigail.
All right.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, do we have anything else?
I don't think so. I think that's pretty much sums it up for me.
All right. Then let's hop out of what's going on.
Oh, guys, do you feel that?
Oh boy.
Oh God, do you guys know what's happening right
I'm
now?
feeling a little damp.
It's a little wet.
And
I'm feeling rocked.
Oh, sorry,
I'm
that's
feeling
just-
rocked and sick.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
So it's hitting,
mud,
it's hitting
mud
you
beneath,
hard.
Mud beneath your toes.
Yeah.
I'm getting trench foot as we speak.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Ugh.
Close the door. He's coming. So. Yeah. Good. Lock it.
Sorry. Yeah.
He's not invited to
Yeah.
this year's second
He'll be.
annual boat month.
Boat month!
Oh my God.
Raise the anchor!
What's kind of interesting? It felt a little anticlimactic heading into boat month this year until today. Today, I got hit with this joy that I just haven't felt in approximately 365 days.
He's genuinely had like a weird pep in his step since the minute he walked into the apartment
It's boat
today.
month, baby. It's boat month.
He's glowing. You can't see him, audience.
I was talking about boat month at breakfast with my dad and my sister today because my dad was like, well, tell me when you guys cover Titanic. And I was like, no, we already covered Titanic, Dad. Last year during boat month. I even had to explain to him the experience that we had in theaters.
Yes, which is God, I love that. I had such a good time watching that movie with you
Yeah,
guys.
that's phenomenal.
I know
film.
we could hear you.
It was so good. It completely.
Yeah, we could hear him crying.
It was great. It was something else.
I was like, I was caught between the fun I was having with Zach's comments and the utter irritation I was having with Zach's comments.
Yeah, it was coming
Combined
fast
with
and loose.
almost like the FOMO of mixed tears.
Listen, that's the sweet
Alexis-
spot that I operate in.
Listeners, this kind of helps sum up the friendship that we share. Is that Alexis will have FOMO when she sees one of us sobbing. Like I want to be where he's at. Like he's having a good. It says a lot about the type of films that Alexis loves and that we love. We love crying. We love crying on this show. Well, except for you, Zach. You don't cry.
I do cry. So I teared up during Titanic.
I'm gonna be honest. I did not enjoy my crying during the movie that we're doing today. Didn't have a great time.
We'll get into it here very quickly. So let's go ahead and jump in. So, folks, this is Boat Month, and I decided to change it up a little bit this year, try something new. We're going to head upriver instead of out the bay, where we're going to check out some freshwater riverways upon our the SSS, whatever it is, the USS?
The USS Film Majors?
Film Majors?
Good.
Okay, what's a Russian ship called?
Oh,
'Cause
man. I don't know. The
USSR?
Red October.
This is because communism was just a red herring.
Indeed.
So we're heading upriver with our first film, and we are talking about controversial movies of cinema of controversy. Now, that can be a movie that in itself is controversial. That can be where something on set is considered controversial. It can be just like its reception. We just want to talk about what are some of our favorite movie controversies or some of our favorite controversial films.
All right. Well, I would say that maybe one of my favorite controversial films due to its subject matter and what it depicts is Solo, or the 120 Days of Sodom.
I haven't seen this.
It is an incredibly rough watch. It's a sort of quasi-retelling of the Marquis de Sade, but set in fascist Italy. So it's a really good exploration of sort of the hypocrisy of fascists and fascism and how it's not really, there's no ideology to it. Cruelty is the point. Mm-hmm. And the things it depicts lean into that. It's a stomach churning watch, but a beautifully made film, and an important movie, but definitely a controversial movie, not for the faint of heart.
Right.
So
I'll check it out. I know it's kind of like one of those movies that you should see at one point.
I mean,
if you want to do it to yourself.
It's a hard one to be like, check it out.
That's
but
a thing.
You should.
So, sometimes these movies that like we might be talking about today is like you can't really like recommend them.
I don't begrudge anyone who doesn't want to watch Solo.
Right. Well said.
But if you are interested in it, I would very much recommend it. I think it's an incredibly powerful movie. Mm-hmm. I did watch it in past and future guest Edwin, my brother's studio apartment, which is near the it's near the OSU campus. Mm-hmm. And there was a tailgate going on while we were watching Solo.
Yeah.
So I was watching some of the worst things I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
And from outside, quietly, I just heard, "The boys are back in town."
Interesting.
The boys are... And I'm like, this does not fit at all.
Yeah.
Anyways, Solo. That's my pick.
Okay. That's a good one. Alexis, do you have any picks? I have a few I could rattle off. Unless you have some.
Why don't you start with one?
You want me to start with one?
Start with one.
I will
Start with
do... Okay, here's the movie I think is a better one. that I just absolutely adore, that I saw with Alexis for the first time, that we keep talking about again and again, Ken Russell's The Devils.
I gotta see it.
Is, I think, one of the best movies of controversial cinema. It is a rough watch. I wouldn't say, based on what I've heard about Solo, not anything near why that is controversial. This is a hard watch because it talks about and explores in great Ken Russell style the madness of like Orthodox in Catholicism and what they would do against women, what they would do against men, what they would do for anyone if you don't like someone, you want someone to die, you just accuse them of being a witch, and you just watch it all fall apart. And the movie was deemed incredibly controversial because it is heresy. It is vile. It is violent. It is overtly sexual. And at the end, all it's really doing is it's poignant satire. You know, it's not laugh out loud, ha ha satire, but it's making a point. It's making a political one. It's making a religious one. And I still think maybe Ken Russell's best film.
That's like kind of top of my I've got to see that soon list. This year has really endeared me to Ken Russell.
Yeah.
So
yes.
I gotta check that out.
You would love it. As I said before, and I'll say again, that movie made me so angry. It just made me so agitated just watching this stuff unfold on screen, and you just want to help these people, and you know there's nothing that they can do, there's nothing that you can do, and it's just the madness of it. That they accuse other people of madness and yet they enact it themselves in such a horrific way is just, it makes your blood boil, and it was done masterfully. Oliver Reed is just, he's transcendent in that movie and weirdly hot. I don't know what's happening there. But Alexis, do you have an example you'd like to share?
I mean, the first one that I had thought of was Call Me By Your Name. And, you know, we've talked about it like a few different times. I mean, the movie is gorgeous. I mean, just seeing like the countryside and just the warmth of the tones used throughout it. It really does feel like summer. It really does feel like something that's like a sunshine that's almost fleeting, but it does have a very concerning, you know, age gap and power dynamic between the two main characters. At one time, did I think that I didn't care? Sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, we were all there, Alexis.
Now,
it's okay.
Now, obviously, it's tainted.
Wait, why is it tainted though? I think we should, remind folks of why again? Like, this is for my parents. Why is Call Me By Your Name so controversial now? What is it?
That's
okay. Well, first of all, the movie itself was pretty controversial. I don't think that there's a lot of people that don't like it because of the age gap and power dynamic between the two male leads. And also because, to be fair, I can read it this way that, he was manipulative with the younger boy and just kind of left him hanging after, having giving him basically like a sexual awakening or whatever. And there's also this scene with a peach.
Yes.
But also Armie Hammer is a cannibal.
Yeah, I was going to say, Armie Hammer plays the older gentleman, and there may be something about that.
Although I feel like that's outside of the film.
It feels more nefarious. It's outside of the film, but the film was already, borderlining on, controversial. It was controversial for some people, and then it's, with this nefarious, real life edge to it now, it's okay, now it feels weird.
Yeah.
Nefarious real life edge.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point, because, you wouldn't say that Usual Suspects is a controversial film. It's now harder to enjoy. It
happens to have two pedophiles involved.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Yes.
Yeah. American Beauty, That movie, I feel
Another good
like,
example.
was probably very controversial when it came out because, I mean, it is obviously like a middle-aged man going through like a crisis, and he's lusting after like a high school girl, and then you add to it the layer of like within the last like, you know,
And it's
5 to 8
Kevin
years, you know,
Spacey.
the nefarious edge of fucking Kevin Spacey playing that middle-aged man, and you know the things
Okay.
that he's been accused of.
Okay, can we all just let him be frank? Can we let him be
No,
frank?
no, I hate it.
Excuse
No.
me.
He's
I
talking
don't
about-
mean to interrupt the film majors here, but I was just wondering if I could be frank with you for a few moments.
I'm sorry. That is one of the most unsettling fucking things I've ever seen on the goddamn internet. When Kevin Spacey does his bullshit apology video, but he
It's
does
not
it.
an apology.
But it's like he's doing it as fucking Frank Underwood.
Yeah, so
I don't-
Alexis, to clue you into this, every year
disgusting.
around Christmas, aside from in 2022, which now makes me really nervous because now I don't know if it's coming, Kevin Spacey has put a video on Twitter and YouTube where he plays his House of Cards character, Frank Underwood, and like obliquely addresses things that are going on with him. Like the year where a witness mysteriously died in one of his like sexual misconduct trials. He put out a video as Frank Underwood, and he's like,
Now, when someone is slandering your name, it's important to kill them with kindness.
it's like, did you just confess to murder?
It's insane because in the first season of House of Cards, he kills a witness of a crime
That's
that he's committed.
bananas.
Yeah, I'm less and less impressed by Kevin Spacey's acting the more I learn about him as a guy.
Yeah, no, he is. Just,
I
these
I think
guys are
that's
so sick.
why the movie's so hard to watch. It sucks because the movie's great. I fucking love the movie. I love the score. I think that the guy who plays Seneca Crane, what's his fucking in the Hunger Games?
Oh, yeah, I
He's
know who
in
you're
the
talking
movie. Yeah,
Don't-
he's so hot. Oh my god, so hot. Like what a waste. You know, it's the same way that I feel about Call Me by Your Name. I'm just like, what a waste. How
Yeah.
could you ruin this for me? Yeah, it's controversial in general, controversial to me because how dare. I'm trying to think here what else. I mean, Park Chan-wook, like most of the shit that he does is like relatively controversial.
But that's more of like an acquired taste, which we've talked about before, right? Like, yeah, it is controversial, but that it's
Okay.
no one's protesting his films.
You know who I will throw out, though, whose films have been
True.
protested and smeared by people in the Great White North is David Cronenberg.
makes
Because
sense.
he gets government money to make his
yeah.
freak pervert movies, which
I
is
love that.
awesome and cool.
Yeah.
And I hope he does it
I
forever.
love that you refer to them as freak pervert movies because I'm like, that sounds delectable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some of my
No, it's-
maybe
Yeah, I'm like,
my
please,
favorite
coin
freak
that.
pervert director.
Well, it's
you know,
funny.
we'll probably check in with him in a few months.
Every time I watch one of his movies, it always brings me such great joy in the opening credits where it says like partly funded by like the Canadian Arts branch of the government. I'm like, that's right, this is
film
government
grant.
money.
Yeah, no, there was like,
But that's not like a Canadian thing. That's a European and Canada. It's basically it's not
basically
it's not an
anywhere but
American
the U.S.
thing, and I
But
hate
yeah,
that.
there was like an article published about Cronenberg where it's like this guy's just taking government money to buy fancy cars and make disgusting films. It's like, yeah, that's literally the coolest thing you can do.
Would you consider Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds a controversial movie because of what happened to the actress
Yeah,
on set?
there was on-set controversy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
What are you referring to though?
Yeah.
So that the listeners know.
So, one of my favorite Nepo babies, Dakota Johnson, her mother is Melanie Griffith, and her mother is Tippi Hedren, who was the actress in The Birds, a movie from the 60s. And I'm not 100% sure of the whole story, but I know that there was like some on-set like verbal abuse, possibly like they actually were attacking her with birds, right? Like they were actually
There were a bunch of scenes where she was pecked and just like swarmed by birds, and she was very frightened of birds. And in scenarios where she wasn't really told that that was going to be the case. Yeah. Alfred Hitchcock, not a great dude, but dead. So,
Yeah.
I can appreciate his work.
LOL. So does that mean that we have to wait for Roman Polanski to die before we appreciate his work again? Is that how that works, Zach?
The sooner the fucking better, in my opinion.
I keep forgetting he's still alive.
I don't.
Hot take. I hope Roman Polanski fucking kicks it soon.
Wow.
I have another really quickly. A type of controversy that like nothing terrible happened, like as far as we know, like on set or anything like that, or the movie is controversial. Like sometimes a movie you just have to stand in awe of its audacity. And we've talked about it briefly on previous episodes, but Zach, you showed me a movie called Sleepaway Camp.
Oh.
That is, if you're familiar with Sleepaway Camp,
Apologies to our trans listeners. I did show Mick Sleepaway Camp.
every time you think the movie would go, no, you wouldn't. Oh, you did.
Yeah,
it does something worse.
The fact that movie is transphobic is like honestly only one of the fucked up things about that movie.
Yeah.
I do kind of enjoy it.
What are those die called that you use in fucking Dungeons and Dragons?
20-sided die?
20-sided die. Like that is Sleepaway Camp. Like being transphobic, that's just one side of 20 different sides of this movie that's like completely how the fuck, what, really? And you have to just be amazed that anyone would make that. And it's as Edwin, your brother said, yeah, Sleepaway Camp, that's a vibe for sure. Because you took a picture of me with my mouth just like my jaw on the floor and sent it to Edwin, and Edwin was like, yeah, it's a vibe.
Oh my god, yeah, I did
I haven't seen that movie in a really long time.
It's terrible.
I gotta be honest, I'm not entirely against us getting to it at some point on this podcast.
It's a cult classic for all of the worst reasons.
Yeah. Alexis, do you have any others?
You know what? I don't think so. No.
Zach?
No.
I think I'm good.
Okay, well, so Alexis, I like that you mentioned birds because it talks about like maybe not necessarily a controversial movie, but things that happened on set.
I believe it was also somewhat controversial during its production.
I've never actually seen that movie. I should check it out.
No.
Yeah,
I'm talking about this one.
Neither have I.
Oh, okay, cool.
I was reading an article
That's good.
that was talking about. Yeah, great. Never mind.
We'll get into it. We'll get into it.
Smooth.
So
the waters are choppy.
Waters are choppy. I think we just hit the bedrock a little bit. But folks, for their first episode of Boat Month, we are going upriver with Apocalypse Now. Final cut. Not, correction corner, Apocalypse Now Redux.
Yeah,
which
Mick
is
fucked up in our last episode.
Which is a 3-hour and 20-minute movie.
Yeah, sorry to everyone who watched an extra, 26 minutes
Honestly,
of this.
all the power to you, because I've never seen Redux. I own it. I found out apparently. I didn't know that.
Yeah, Mick has a box set of every version of this movie.
But we are talking about Apocalypse Now Final Cut, which I think came out in... Boy, I don't even know. Because Redux came out in 2001.
Yeah, Final Cut was recent.
It was pretty
sure.
recent. Yeah, and so if you missed last episode, basically Francis Ford Coppola came out with Apocalypse Now, 1979, to great acclaim after a very, very rocky, very controversial production, and it came out, I think, at around the 2-hour mark, maybe around there, like 2.5, I think.
Something like that.
And
also, just so everyone knows, Final Cut came out in 2019 for the 40th anniversary.
Oh, really? Oh, it's that recent.
Yes.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that. Thank you. And then 2001, he came out with Apocalypse Now Redux, which is basically like the director's cut, added everything that they basically put on the cutting room floor, got rid of a bunch of annoying, irritating cuts that he didn't like, that they made compromises for to kind of make it as little, as Francis Ford Coppola says, as less weird as they can make it. More mainstream.
Yeah.
And so they added everything in. He said they liked it. He liked it. And then eventually he thought, you know what? This is too long. Let's come out with the final cut, 2019, which shaved off 20 minutes. So it's a 3-hour film, which I think is a perfect length. That's why I don't think I've ever really been tempted to watch Redux. I'm like, I don't think I need 20 more minutes of this. Like, I feel pretty good about how it wraps up in the end. But if you are a person that lives under a river rock and you are not familiar with Apocalypse Now, it is the story that is set in Vietnam in 1970. And Captain Willard, played by Martin Sheen, takes a perilous and increasingly hallucinatory journey upriver to find and terminate Colonel Kurtz, played by Marlon Brando, a once promising officer who has reportedly gone completely mad. In the company of a Navy patrol boat filled with street-smart kids, a surfing-obsessed air cavalry officer, and a crazed freelance photographer, Willard travels further and further into the heart of darkness. So.
Well, they clearly didn't fucking watch the movie, because the fucking photographer doesn't even come in until like the basically the fucking end of the movie.
Yeah, the last like 40 minutes.
I feel like they did watch the movie then, because they wouldn't have known about the photographer unless they had seen the whole movie.
They watched it a little stoned and they got confused.
Which, for the record, is how I typically watch Apocalypse Now. I usually watch it stoned. This was the first time I've seen it sober, and it was a little different.
I would have a panic attack.
I like this movie stoned. I don't know what it is. I get super on its level. But that's neither here nor there. Zach, Alexis, either one of you, take it away. What does Apocalypse Now mean to you? What's your relationship to it?
Well, it was my first time watching it.
Okay, so first time.
I didn't have a great time watching it. Halfway through the movie, something happened in the movie that made me start crying, and then I had to take a break for like 5 minutes.
Wait, okay,
That's fair.
what part?
What's the moment?
The peasants in the boat with the puppy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's... I gotta be... Oh.
Yeah, I had to take a break. I was like, and I even went into the kitchen and I like made my mom give me a hug. I told her, I was like, I'm so tired of watching movies where people are just dying all the time.
Aw. Poor Alexis.
Yeah,
it's rough. You are not wrong. It's a rough one.
I had this thought when I was watching Apocalypse Now a few nights ago, where I was like, Boat Month last year was so fun.
Yeah.
It was Jaws, Titanic, Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl, and Master and Commander.
Yeah.
Just big, lavish, blockbuster Hollywood productions.
Fantastic.
And this is also that, but this is a blockbuster from the 1970s, which Jaws is too. But this is
a deconstruction.
more in line with the general vibe of American cinema and America in the 70s.
Yes.
In that it is truly nightmarish.
Yeah.
Before I watched this movie, so I watched this movie for the first time during the pandemic.
Same. That's same here.
Yeah, which, I was in a really good headspace. But, it's been 4 years since I watched it.
Mm-hmm.
God, how time flies.
That's crazy.
And going into this, I was like, how have I not already revisited Apocalypse Now? Because I remember being blown away by it. Like, this is, in my opinion, like, might be a controversial thing to say, but one of the great American films. I know, it's a hot take.
Hey, it's controversy cinema, man.
It's a super hot take in this year to say that Apocalypse Now is one of the great American films.
Sure, it could be a hot take, because not my favorite.
Yeah.
But as I watched it, I was like, oh, right. This is like The film that I found myself thinking about as I watched Apocalypse Now, which normally I take extensive notes on the movies that we cover. I barely took any on this. I wanted to watch, and I was very immersed.
Yeah.
But the movie that I kept thinking about is a movie that appeared on my best of the year list in 2022, Mad God.
The Phil Tippett film.
Yes. I believe on our best of 2022 episode, go back and listen, I described Mad God as the closest feeling I've had to living in a nightmare while awake. This goes in that camp for me. There's just the sort of hypnotic energy and the way things become more and more surreal the further upriver we go just really put me in a pretty bad headspace as well, Alexis. But you know, I do crave being in a bad headspace. I do.
Why can't
when
I
a
hear
movie's
you?
good enough, I tend to fuck with that. So, you know.
Nice. Yeah, so I also saw it for like properly the first time during the pandemic. And I had seen it though when I was like a little kid. This was actually the first time I had properly seen the film. It's during the pandemic, but I had seen like bits of it when I was a kid. And Alexis, the scene that you're talking about that just really fucked with you, I remember distinctly. Is the only part of this film I remember as a kid because I remember it making me so sad. Like that, like it didn't compute to my little brain. Like that doesn't make sense. Like that's just why. That's a complete waste. But war is waste, and this is one of the seminal anti-war films ever made. A lot of Vietnam veterans will say that, yeah, it's not like literal, like it's not on the money with that, but in terms of capturing the headspace and how truly it was just complete madness and you just were, you were losing yourself in the fucking jungle. This movie's pretty good in terms of kind of capturing that. And we'll get into what happens behind the scenes that in a lot of ways, that's why you can feel a sense of madness in the fabric of the film.
Well, I want to like highlight a quote because I watched the famous documentary that Francis Ford Coppola's wife, whose name
His wife did.
Sorry?
Eleanor.
Eleanor, thank you.
Eleanor Coppola. Yeah.
Yeah,
She just died recently.
Yes, rest in peace. That Eleanor Coppola made Hearts of Darkness. I watched that for the first time. And it opens with this quote from Coppola when this movie went to Cannes, where he says, "This movie isn't a film about Vietnam. This movie, what is Vietnam? We were a bunch of Americans who had too much money and too much equipment and no idea what we were doing in the jungle, slowly going mad," essentially, is the quote.
And I walked in on
Feels-
the last half hour of that documentary, and I've seen bits and pieces of it before, but like from the behind the scenes footage and the interviews that they're capturing, you can definitely tell that as the movie was going on, things were falling apart for the production and for people's genuine sanity.
Coppola especially.
Coppola especially.
Yeah, I was reading some things, and I think that it is weird to conflate a film production with the actual Vietnam War that went on for like almost 10 years. That feels a little weird.
Oh, it smacks of pretension for sure.
They were also shooting. It is a little weird, but they were also shooting in the Philippines during it was like a civil war or something,
Yes.
right? Was going on. Like somebody, the main guy lent them choppers to use for the film and then had to ask for them back in the middle of shooting. Like
Because
the
there would
typhoon
be-
happened.
Yeah. Yeah, so what you're referring to, Alexis, is a great point. Yeah, so helicopters, even though this is boat month, helicopters play a huge part in this film because it played a huge part in
You're so
the Vietnam
horny.
War.
I could just see it.
It's war.
I know. I can
Boats
feel
and
it. I'm so
helicopters.
far away, and I can feel it.
Yeah.
But there are so many helicopters that are used that were period correct from the war. They shot this during the 70s, and you're correct. Like in the Philippines, there was a civil war happening, and so they would be shooting, and halfway through the day, they would lose their helicopters because suddenly there's an attack by the rebels, and the Filipino Air Force needs their helicopters back and would take it. And there were times where they were worried about their safety because there were a bunch of Americans, and they would make mighty tasty hostages in case something goes wrong. It's complete madness. It's absolutely crazy. That's barely even touching the surface of the shit.
I did find it interesting in one of the articles that I was reading about it, where they were talking about how it's almost like I'm trying to figure out how to say this. I think that Coppola is great, but I was wondering if what do you guys think? When a director, and I'm not saying that Coppola specifically had bad behavior on the set or anything, but when a director acts in a way that is controversial or makes decisions that puts the crew into possibly dangerous situations, how much of that do we respect adds to the look and feel of the movie, and how much of it is just that's just the conflating the madness of the artist with genius, you know?
That's a great question. That's a really good question.
Yeah, I was thinking about it because the more I read about it, I was just like, well, that all sounds kind of fucked up.
How good's the movie?
I mean, that's the thing.
that might, because personally, if I'm, a fucking lowly PA on a movie, and the set is insane, I'm probably going to be pretty fucking cranky about it at the moment. I'm not going to be happy. I'm going to be like, this director is a dick. If the movie comes out to be Apocalypse Now, I'm going to let it slide a little bit. And also the fact that Coppola, it seems like, based on kind of the way he's been talked about by people who work with him, is not tyrannical in the sense that he is abusive to his actors, or it doesn't seem like he has an energy that is intentionally antagonistic towards his actors and crew.
John Milius did describe him as Adolf Hitler.
But he did it in a positive way, which is crazy.
LOL. So I have a question. Did you guys, the opening scene with Martin Sheen, which, side note, Martin Sheen, young Martin Sheen.
God.
Wow.
Alexis, everything
You know what? And there was
horny.
Yeah!
I wouldn't even say that it makes me horny. I'm just like, wow, you are pretty. And I had these
cook.
Oh my God.
Let her cook.
She loves a sickly white boy.
I kept seeing him from different angles and being like, Emilio. Literally, I was like, Emilio Estevez. That's your daddy right there.
Let her cook.
Always the best takes. Good Lord.
Hell yeah, dog. Fucking hell yeah.
The opening scene where he breaks the mirror, that happened really, he actually hurt himself, right?
That's real. That's real blood.
And somehow not the worst thing
was he
that
actually
happened.
drunk?
Yes.
He
was drinking. He was actually naked. He was actually he was completely drunk. He doesn't remember that night.
No, he's said that he has said that he doesn't remember that night, but he remembers all of it.
Oh boy, that's even worse.
Also,
That's horrible.
somehow not the worst thing that happened to Martin Sheen on this movie, because he had a heart attack.
But okay,
He had a heart attack,
let's go. We're going a lot into the behind the scenes, which I super appreciate. But I want to talk about the movie for a sec. Let's just talk about the film, right? As a viewer, the opening,
Sure.
I think, is one of the strongest openings to any movie ever made.
Great fucking needle drop.
It's a fantastic needle drop, and it's all by accident because the famous
What's
editor...
the needle drop?
This is the end by the Doors.
The Doors, Jim Morrison.
Oh, okay.
So you know it starts, you get the shot of the trees, and then you get the music coming in, and then you get that napalm explosion, and then Jim Morrison comes in with his vocals, and you get the helicopters flying across, and then the thumping of the helicopters is in rhythm with the ceiling fan in Sheen's room.
Yeah, Willard's room.
In Willard's room. It's already a fever dream. As soon as you're entering the film, you're already falling under its spell. And it is just so powerful. And it's all by accident because the editor is not Walter Murch.
I've got to look it up. It might be Murch.
I think it is Murch, but that famous editor that we were taught in school, I think it is Walter Murch. He mentioned that they didn't have a shot to open the movie, and so during the big
Murch and Lisa Fruchtman.
During the big attack on the base with the helicopters and everything, they had this one camera capturing B-roll of a close-up shot of the trees, and they hadn't marked it as have gotten good footage, but Walter Murch, leave no stone unturned, was scrolling through everything and found that, oh, wait a minute, like if we just play this clip uncut, this could be what opens the film. And they do it, and it's absolutely it's transcendent. It's great. I love when we meet Harrison Ford's character. I always forget that a young Harrison Ford is in this movie, and they're setting him up for the mission.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to ask you both, do you think Alexis is really digging the skinny white boy again? Which is a good pick.
Absolutely.
Come on, one of the
So
most
tall.
handsome men.
He looks good with those glasses. Do you think all of this is real, or do you think it happened? Because there's a theory that when Harrison Ford, after they give him the mission, and he's sitting there with the general, he describes the mission that you were to take out Colonel Kurtz with
Extreme prejudice.
With extreme prejudice, and then he hands him a cigarette and goes, "This mission does not exist, and it never did exist." And he takes a cigarette. Now, obviously, on the surface, he's saying this is so top secret that we're not even talking about this. But some people read that as a warning to the audience that everything that happens here is just the madness of Willard when he's basically lost his mind in his room. That's just, all of this is just the trauma that's built up.
I don't like theories like that because I think they make the movie less interesting.
I agree with that.
That's my take on that. I think that if that's your take on the movie, I think you're doing that to try to feel smart.
Well, there's another interesting theory as well. So we talk about how the movie goes up the river and it gets more and more mad. Crazy, just crazier and crazier things just build atop one another, one and one and one. A lot of people think, and I like this theory, that it's sort of a non-literal travel through time.
I can confirm. Coppola mentions this during Hearts of Darkness.
Oh, does he?
Yes, he talks about how he thinks about going up the river as traveling through the history of Vietnam, and that's why he puts the French plantation scene
I love
back
that.
in the movie. I wasn't super hot on the French plantation scene.
I like it. I like that it's there.
I like that.
I
liked it, yeah, because it shows because I mean, not everybody is like big history enthusiasts, but Vietnam was originally under like French colonial
French
rule.
colony.
And I mean, like, if you don't know much about history, sometimes you wouldn't know that,
It's where the banh
I
mi
had to
sandwich
look up
comes
a bunch
from.
of history things, and I don't know. I don't know, the fucking attitude that they have where it's like, we've been here for 70 years. We're not leaving. I'm like, well, who the fuck was there before you were here 70 years ago? Fuck off.
Yeah, I guess for me, maybe it just felt like putting too fine a point on it, but I mean, it's a beautiful scene.
Yeah.
Is that really where the banh mi came from?
That's where the banh mi sandwich comes from. Is because the Vietnamese people had French bread hanging around. They're like, fuck, man, if we cut this
The
in half and
baguettes.
put some shit in there.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Literally, maybe one of my favorite sandwiches. I had so many banh mi's on that terrible fucking AI movie I worked on.
Fucking love a banh mi.
This
God
is
damn it.
literally so recently. I've said many times I need to learn how to make a banh mi because that's so good.
It's like that Louis C.K. bit, of course,
No.
but maybe.
Oh
Of course.
God.
Of course, colonialism
Yeah.
is one of the worst things to ever happen.
But maybe it gave us the banh mi. Way to invoke
Maybe.
Louis C.K. on our controversial
Wow.
film episode.
It's all
know-
Way
there.
to be
you know
on
what?
fucking brand.
Fuck colonialism, but also I wouldn't be here without
See? There it is. Of course, but maybe. But maybe because of colonialism, you have me, Alexis. So
Alexis, I'm
it's
glad
not all
you're
that
here.
bad.
I'm not excusing a history of colonialism. I'm brave for that, and everyone should tell me that I'm brave.
Can I be very frank with you all
Yes.
right now? I'm not. Fuck colonialism.
Alexis,
Fuck
did you
war.
just ask if you can be frank? Because of course you can be frank. Hello, everyone. It's me.
I literally
Frank
never even
Underwood.
seen House of Cards.
God, it's
Well,
terrible.
let me tell you,
we
it's
gotta-
a fantastic show.
We're gonna rein
Now,
it in. We're gonna rein
I
it in.
personally think that
We're
Apocalypse...
gonna rein it in. Rein it in.
Bring it back to the boat. Bring
I
it
did
back to
not
the boat.
invite
Never
Kevin
get off the
Spacey on the
boat.
podcast.
Never get off the boat.
Yeah, exactly. Never get off the boat. That's goddamn right. To be honest with you, so last year during boat month, I was thinking like, God, like how the fuck am I going to top the first boat month? And then I remembered that line. Never get off the boat. That's goddamn right. And I realized, so this has been a year in the making. Apocalypse Now was always going to be the first movie I
Wow.
start this month with. This is a fucking boat movie, and it's
You
fantastic.
just love to traumatize me.
And yeah, so we're going upriver, but I love that we're going back in time. I adore that part of this, that aspect of the film. It's absolutely incredible. In fact, just the visuals. I don't know I think it's a mixture of the incredibly like psychedelic soundtrack, like the synth that they're doing. It feels very like Tangerine Dream.
Yes.
It reminds me a lot of Sorcerer, which is a
What a fucking movie.
great, another madness jungle film.
Talk about movies that we got to talk about on this
I know.
fucking show at some point. Ugh,
Such a
chomping
good movie.
chomping at the bit.
William Friedkin. The scene where they're on the boat and they're going underneath the tail wing of a B-52. To think about it, I know it's funny. Haha, it's a
No,
plane.
I just love you
But think about
naming
it.
a vehicle.
But it's like, it's first of all, as a set piece, incredible that they did that out in the fucking jungle. They they build a tail wing of a massive bomber, but just that visual of them like getting further and further up the river, and then you just see that fucking tail wing, and then earlier in the film you see a helicopter that's like it's a medevac helicopter burning, and there are just bodies hanging in the trees. It's just it absolutely, you just get entrenched in it. You get buried under just this complete just pain, and it's horrible.
It's a nightmare. The horror.
It's a living nightmare.
The horror.
Yeah, it's just complete dread. It's so powerful.
I will say, since we've been kind of talking about colonialism and the Vietnam War, I'm very grateful that we're watching this while
The Sympathizer.
The Sympathizer is coming out, because I think this movie, if you have to ding it with something, you can kind of give it a similar critique to, Killers of the Flower Moon, where it's very much about the atrocities perpetrated by the United States, and it's condemning them, but its focus is on the, colonial power.
It's about the white experience.
It is this more so than
Yeah.
Killers.
Yeah.
But, I don't think that this movie is trying to dig into, the Vietnamese experience of the war, which is why I'm grateful that The Sympathizer is coming out, because
I agree.
we haven't gotten, there have been a lot of Vietnam movies, but they've, at least that I have seen, have pretty much exclusively focused on Americans, and granted that's probably because I haven't explored Vietnamese cinema enough.
Right.
But, I think that this is a great depiction of what Vietnam kind of did to the American psyche at large, more than it is, a accurate retelling of the war.
Yeah, I forget if... I think it's the writer of the book, The Sympathizer, or it's one of the writers on the show. But they even talked about... I'm forgetting their name, I do apologize, but they actually talked about Apocalypse Now and said what a great movie it is, but I disagree with it politically. And I understand that it's considered a classic, and for good reason, but that doesn't mean I personally have to bow down to it.
Yeah.
So, and that's a completely fair and good take to have, because honestly, so I talked about how I usually watch this movie inebriated, which I highly recommend for it's a crazy experience. Watching this sober was interesting for me because I would say I enjoyed it a little less this time around, just because of the political aspect of it. Because I kept thinking, and maybe this is too corny, I don't know, maybe it's too on the nose, but I think it would have been really cool if the real reason that the United States wants to absolutely delete any trace of a Colonel Kurtz after, throwing a murder charge at him, which, as Willard said, is like handing out speeding tickets
at the Indy 500.
Yeah. Because, if Kilgore, who we haven't talked about yet, Robert Duvall's character, is getting promotions for the fucking shit he's doing, then what the hell did Colonel Kurtz do? And then we get there, and it's, Colonel Kurtz is... He's kind of...
running a cult.
He's running a cult, and he's brought himself down to the savagery of the jungle. And that's why we need to get rid of him. And that, I'm not going to lie, I think is a little lazy. I think what would have been even better is if they go there and Colonel Kurtz, his mind broke to the Americans because he flipped sides. He realized that the madness that was going on was so much that he finally felt so guilty that he actually joined the North Vietnamese. And he was embedded in there that's why he was so far up north. That's why he's in Cambodia.
Yeah, I think at that point you're making more of a movie that's like about Vietnam and the politics of it.
Yeah.
As opposed to kind of its psychological effect on America, which, is maybe a more noble cause, but it's a different movie.
It is a different movie. But yeah, like when he talks about how, we drop bombs on these people and yet we're told that it's vulgar to write fuck on our airplanes, Kurtz was close to being that type of character. Like, you could have maybe made it a little less on the nose, but just, I think it would have been a better story if the reason that we're assassinating this guy is because he's completely fallen out from our ideology and our propaganda of the American military establishment. That's why this perfect golden boy of a soldier we have to get rid of. But that's just me.
I thought it was kind of interesting, like, the difference between, like, Kurtz and Kilgore, in that, like, Kilgore was kind of the stereotypical, like, the way that the Vietnam War was waged was all through the air and all of these airstrikes. And that is, why, originally part of Vietnam, the southern Vietnam, was kind of behind America. But then after they started doing napalm and Agent Orange and fucking up not just the people themselves, but their land and everything, obviously they're not behind that. And they, would have rather had the northern side of it too. I mean, and they were already unhappy because of the fucking corrupt government that was in the South before. And then you have Kurtz, who instead of doing these kind of like outrageous strategic movements, collects all of this like data and dossier like kind of information on a few people and then just like, out of turn murders them, kills them, assassinates them, whatever. And, ends whatever problems that he was having in the area that he was in charge of. Right. And that's what this guy is in trouble for. I don't know. I just thought it was very interesting that the reason why he was in trouble was because he took care of the problem in a way that didn't actually hurt other innocent people.
Yeah.
There wasn't enough collateral damage the way he did.
It's not shock and awe. And it's also, he's out in the jungle, like he is adopting, Viet Cong tactics.
Right.
Waging guerrilla warfare.
I mean, he talks about when he helped, a previous mission where he helped inoculate a bunch of children with a vaccine. And the people that were in charge of the village felt that was a slight against, their own culture, and doing anything like that with the Americans was bad. And so as a form of, fuck you, they cut off the arms of all the children all the arms that were inoculated. And he talks about seeing that pile of arms. And he couldn't figure out, looking at
little arms,
why the fuck could someone ever do this? And then he realized that what they're doing is that they are having the will to do what no other person can do. And that is why they will win. And
that gets reinforced in the plantation scene.
Yeah.
When the French guy talks about how the Americans are here doing the biggest nothing in history.
Yeah. I love all the different ways the film examines.
That must have really hurt for people to hear, because it is like historically the worst loss that America has ever had in any war.
Hold that fucking L. Hey, Afghanistan pretty close. We were there for 20 years.
Yeah.
But
by the way, I'm so happy that we're doing Vietnam 2 stuff, threatening to fucking call the National Guard in on protesters on college campuses. That's cool.
we have a long history of that.
That was another reason, like another side of the coin, why it was just really hard to watch this movie, is because there's just so many fucking parallels with like Kent State in 1970 and the massacre that happened there, all the fucking protests that were happening because of the Vietnam War, and literally the protests that are happening on our own like alumni campus, and across the nation.
Yeah.
And so no one's having a good time right now.
Hey, if you're a current film major, get out there, join a protest.
Absolutely.
Can I lighten the mood slightly?
Sure.
Okay. I want to talk a little bit about Marlon Brando, since we have been talking about Colonel Kurtz. Marlon Brando.
Man in the shadows.
Yeah. So, Marlon Brando
heavy.
Initially was supposed to shoot his scenes at a certain point. Coppola wanted to push his scenes. He had given him an advance of $1 million. Brando threatened to pull out of the movie and keep the $1 million. Eventually, he shot his scenes. He had put on some weight and told Coppola that he was going to lose it. He showed up. Coppola almost says fat as shit during Hearts of Darkness.
Wow.
He's obese.
He's like, he showed up so fat. And they had to essentially, Coppola was willing to like rewrite the script and be like, okay, maybe this is a man who is just like fully given into his impulses now. He's got like 3 native women to the area with him. He's got, he's wearing a necklace of bones. He's gorging himself on food. And Brando didn't want himself depicted like that.
Which I think is a good choice.
I think so. Eventually, they shot a bunch of scenes in shadow and had Brando and Sheen improvise a whole bunch of dialogue. There's a very funny bit in Hearts of Darkness.
Yeah.
Where you see Brando like improvising and kind of walking off into the light, and then he just goes, "I've run out of dialogue to improvise."
Yeah, or when he's in the middle of this, he's almost like delivering poetry. He goes, and that is why the humans are the only blood. I just swallowed a bug.
Yeah. But this is all to bring up
That would be me.
a point that past and future guest Jake Sabat brought up to me
God.
a year ago, which I think is entirely salient. So Marlon Brando got very heavy towards the latter half of his career. And I feel like many an actor who, is maybe a sex symbol when they're younger, puts on some weight when they're older. I feel like, not to name names, but Russell Crowe has become a man of size lately.
He has.
And it's very cool, and I love it. I love seeing him just boot around big as hell on a Vespa. I think it's awesome.
When he was getting training for Gladiator, his trainer told him specifically, Russell Crowe, you have got to stop eating cheeseburgers, and Russell Crowe responded with, "Go fuck yourself." Continues that.
Hell yeah. Anyways, but
It's a queen right there.
This is all to say that many a man has done this, and yet there's never been an actress who has been able to sit on that glass ceiling and smash it by gaining a bunch of weight
With
later.
that fat ass.
Exactly. Later, that is what I was going for. Later in her career,
Jesus Christ.
and take like similar roles to what she had been doing,
Right.
but just. She's fat now.
She's just fat.
She's just fat now.
Yeah.
And I think, and Jake pinpointed the actress that we want to do this, Cate Blanchett.
Yes.
You need to just start not taking care of yourself. You just gotta eat what you want, drink as much as you want, and become a woman of size. Because I think that Cate Blanchett has the clout and the acting ability to become the Brando of her day and shatter that glass ceiling. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Very good.
I
very
feel
good, very
like this is an episode we're gonna come back to with regrets of how we phrase these things.
Yeah, no,
Alexis,
I'm going to regret
Alexis,
that I didn't bring that up sooner.
Alexis, when you say we,
I just
do you
want to
mean
say that
Zach?
I don't endorse anything to do with this conversation.
You don't
size.
endorse Make Blanchett Brando? But why?
Cate Blando.
Yeah, it would be cool.
So that was
I'm saying this because she's a great actress.
That was an interesting sidebar. I'd like to everyone. Let's just give a little. That was good. That was good.
Thank you.
And it was relevant. It was relevant.
It was relevant.
It was relevant. I gotta figure out what's going on with my mouth. It's just like slurring words left and right. I'm not even drunk. You're the one drinking
Get back on
Cutwater.
the boat. Get back on the boat.
Get back on the boat.
Oh, never get off the boat.
Hold on. Okay. Speaking of getting back on the boat, so you get off the boat, tiger, right? There was a tiger there.
Sure
That was
Alexis,
crazy.
did you recognize the cook?
He was kind of cute, so I thought I recognized him, but I don't remember from what.
Alexis being subtly like, every man in this movie is hot. Every man in this movie has it going on.
Except Lawrence Fishburne, who's 14.
Who is 14. But the cook is the dad from
Is he
Valley
14?
Girl.
Oh, he must have been 14, huh?
Yeah,
I thought he was 18 when he started this movie.
He lied about his age.
You completely rolled over what I was saying.
He said he was 18 when he auditioned for the movie. And the casting... Coppola asked the casting director, "Hey, do you think this kid could be 18?" And she was like, "Yeah, sure." And that's what got him in the movie. Sorry, Mick, continue.
The dad is the cook. He's from Valley Girl. That's my point. I'm trying to throw Alexis a bone here.
Oh
There
my
we
god.
go. There it is.
Oh my god.
Yes.
That's crazy.
The
guy-
film starring a
That's-
Coppola.
The guy
Wow.
who gets his head cut off at the end forgot to take off the lens cap in Valley Girl. It's sad.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not sure I find him as hot as like a dad hippie, but that's cool.
And by the way, apparently as soon as he got back to America after shooting Apocalypse Now, he started rehearsing for Valley Girl.
Really?
Yeah. It's like,
that's so cool.
It's like it's right there. Cause that was an early 80s film.
When did Valley Girl shoot?
But I thought Valley Girl
80,
came out in 83. Well, I guess it could have shot in 81. And
I think it was early 80s.
That seems like a very long time.
Let me Google this. I have my doubts. Yeah, Valley Girl came out in 83.
Well, he didn't have a lot of work happening in between, so he went right into rehearsing Valley Girl a few years later.
Okay.
But yeah, no, that's it's funny. Like the little tidbits of cast in there. Like I don't know if anyone has seen Outlaw of Josie Wales, but the surfer, that's the young kid from Outlaw of Josie Wales. I don't want to die, Josie. He's
the surfer also talked about how he was stoned and on acid this entire movie,
the whole film,
which is another wrinkle of this movie. Is
purple haze.
So many people in this cast were actively fucked up during the filming. That actor who plays the surfer,
is it Jim something?
It is
Lance Johnson or something.
Lance. Well,
I mean, not his real name.
Lance Johnson is the character's name. Sam Bottoms is the actor.
That's a real name. Sam Bottoms.
Hi, I'm Sam
Bottoms. He was actually like on acid or high during that. I believe that.
Except during the bridge scene. During the bridge scene, apparently he did speed.
Really?
Yeah. He was like, I wanted a more speedy energy for that scene.
Yeah. Well, I
what he
totally
said in
buy
his
that.
interview.
Also,
it was the 70s.
Also, someone else who was immensely fucked up during the movie, to no one's surprise, is the American photographer Dennis Hopper. Dennis Hopper was jacked the fuck up on all sorts.
Yeah, he seemed jacked the fuck up.
Hard
I
drugs.
thought that was just acting, but I guess not.
Hard drugs and the soft white powdery ones. A lot of stuff was happening. I love it how in Heart of Darkness, you get a clip of Dennis Hopper behind the scenes being interviewed on set, and he's just he is a space cadet.
He's fucking zooted.
He's zooted out of his mind, and then it cuts to a contemporary interview with Dennis Hopper being like, "Yeah, so that was I
wasn't in the best shape of my life.
I was in the best shape during the making of that movie." And it's fantastic.
Yeah, him talking to Coppola, being like, I don't know any of my lines, man. He's like, okay, well, he's like saying stuff
you
that
have to learn your lines to then forget them.
That's what I'm working on, man.
That's actually that was an actual argument that happened. Oh my God.
Yeah, Coppola also talked about how, with figuring out the Kurtz scenes, he was like, I think maybe we add another character, but I'm really nervous to add Hopper because, what's going to happen when I put Brando in a room with crazy Dennis Hopper? He calls him crazy Dennis Hopper.
They didn't like each other. They didn't shoot any of their scenes together, right?
That's correct. Marlon Brando hated Dennis Hopper and would not allow to film a scene with him. If they were interacting with each other, they had to not be on the other side of camera.
Yeah.
Like when he throws the thing at Dennis Hopper, who improvised, I don't know. But that's one of the classic examples. But yeah, Dennis Hopper is completely zooted.
That's crazy.
Throughout that movie. But yeah, but you're right. Earlier, a very, very young Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah, this is the second movie we've covered where he's credited as Larry Fishburne. Recently, yeah, Boys in the Hood. That's like
I know, but I thought it said Lawrence Fishburne in the
Larry
here.
Oh. Larry,
interesting. But yeah, very young, handsome chap. Let's see. Oh, okay. We have to talk about Kilgore. We have to talk about Robert Duvall.
Okay, I thought he was good.
One of the best fucking performances in the movie.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, he's really
good.
At
first, I could
one of
not.
The best.
At first, I could not tell that it was Robert Duvall. And then I think he took off his hat or something. And then I was really listening to his voice. I was like, oh shit, that is Robert Duvall. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Very strange for me. My family loves the movie that he won the Academy Award for, which is I think it's 1983's Tender Mercies. And
never seen it.
Very, Very, very different role. Very different.
What's his role?
Secondhand Lions. I love Secondhand Lions.
Oh my God.
Secondhand Lions with
That was
Michael Caine.
Hello, my name is Michael Caine.
With Michael Caine.
You see, it's not just your line. It's your father's line.
I just remember that
I
little.
won't let you tear down.
I just remember
his
the little
legacy.
white boy being like, "Hey,
Brick by brick."
less red meat, more vegetables," and then Robert Duvall going,
That was weirdly one of 2 Duvall movies that my grandparents showed me. The other being The Godfather.
"Good
Which
movies."
I'd have to commend us. I wanna tip my cap to this show.
Because
We have now talked about 3 Coppola movies, and none of them have been The Godfather.
Yeah.
What were the other Coppola movies?
Bram Stoker's Dracula and oh my God, what's
Peggy
it called?
Sue Got
Peggy
Married.
Sue Got Married.
Oh my God, I keep forgetting Peggy Sue Got Married was a Coppola
Snooze.
movie.
You're not
Yeah,
alone.
so
Snooze.
do I. I picked it, and I do too. It was
Snooze.
not my fave.
Yeah, that was.
We got to cover one of Sophia's movies to really like bring up the average here.
Look out, man. I know which one I'd pick.
I'd be really interested in revisiting Marie Antoinette someday, because
Okay.
I watched that when I was
I've
pretty
never
young,
seen
and
that.
I didn't really like it, but I feel like I would now.
I would fuck with that movie. And I've never seen Lost in Translation.
Huh.
Never seen it.
Yeah, I didn't really like it.
Okay.
I didn't care for it.
So, Apocalypse Now, Robert Duvall he's fucking fantastic in it, and he's such a piece of shit. He's a
That was
psycho.
crazy.
He's
That
a
fucking,
psycho.
that fucking scene is crazy.
Yeah, I forgot.
Crazy. They're clearing the beach so that he can surf on it. What
Yeah.
the
I forgot.
fuck?
I forgot that his whole thing was that he was a surfer.
Yeah.
That is insanity.
Yeah.
And then when he's like pursuing the boat, like all the different helicopters with the loudspeakers being like, "You need to give back my board. It was a good board, and you know how hard it is to find a board that you liked."
It's a good board, and I liked it. I'm not angry.
It's like that is like the
Dude, when they're in the helicopter and they're riding to the Ride of the Valkyries,
Yes.
that shit was wild.
Yeah.
Just crazy.
I'm trying to think of any listeners with a better memory than me.
Mm-hmm.
What's the piece of media where somebody wants to play Flight of the Valkyries as like a pump up for a badass moment, but instead plays Flight of the Bumblebee?
That'd be fun.
It happens in something, and
Does
I
it?
can't remember what it is.
Huh.
It's very
That's a
funny,
good
though.
joke. I like that.
Yeah, listeners, email us, filmmagerspod@gmail.com. What is that joke from?
It's not Drumline, is it?
Definitely not. I don't know what that is.
You've never seen Drumline?
Never in my life.
Wow. Damn.
Ooh.
Really? I've never even heard of Drumline,
Boo.
quite frankly.
Big boo.
I'm
Isn't
here
that
to
with Nick
learn.
Cannon?
Hey, who am I doing an impression of right now? L after L. It's you. I'm doing an impression of you.
Fuck you. God.
Is that the movie with Nick Cannon?
Yes, it is. That is a Nick Cannon.
Okay,
See,
yeah,
Alexis is a homie, Zach. I don't know what you are.
God.
But you're not a
Exactly.
Drumline homie.
This sucks, man. What do you want to say about Apocalypse Now?
That it ain't no Drumline. That's what That's a sentence that I never thought I'd say. Yeah,
my God.
I think that his whole Robert Duvall, I love it after the whole attack, and he's sitting there playing the guitar, and I like the narration where it's like the more they try to make it like home, the more they want it to be there, and the more that they bring bits. This is why we will lose that war, is because for a good day for North Vietnamese, like they'll have like some fresh meat and they'll like squat in some mud. We, have steaks and everything. That's why we were always going to lose.
I thought that was during the USO show.
Was it?
That he says that?
It might have been, but it's the same ethos,
Yeah.
But that's what that reminds me of, where they're having steaks and it's like a beach party in Santa Barbara, and they had just massacred a village
That shit.
earlier in the day.
Yeah, there was an article that I was reading where somebody was talking about how somebody referred to it as like the West Coast sensibility of the Vietnam War, because like all the iterations like before then had been like East Coast kind of.
I've heard that too. Yeah.
But this one was like the West Coast, like the guy who wrote, one of the guys who wrote it, John Milius, he wanted to have been enlisted, but he had asthma. And so he wasn't able to enlist. And so it's like, oh, this is just somebody who obviously was never in the war's idea of what the war could possibly be. I don't even know.
Yeah.
But it was just interesting. I fucking hate Kilgore. The whole fucking little monologue that he has where he talks about how he loves the smell of napalm.
The famous quote.
Was
smells
disgusting.
like victory. Yeah, well, I mean, what's funny is how does he finish that speech as he goes, one day this war's going to end. And he looks sad because he realizes that this will all end for him one day. And isn't that the most evil shit you've ever heard?
So
which is why he performed it so well.
I'm really glad, Alexis, that you brought up John Milius, because I wanna go on a little Milius sidebar, and I want to talk about why I think that this movie has both some, like, I think primarily this is an anti-Vietnam film, anti our involvement in Vietnam. It's fairly radical in its message. Obviously the U.S. government would not lend the production any military vehicles or help for its production because it portrays what we did there in a negative light. But I do think, the depiction, the lack of sort of a humanistic depiction of the Vietnamese, I think probably in some ways one spawns from this being an adaptation of Heart of Darkness, which is kind of a colonialist novel or short story. But I think it also kind of stems from Milius, who, as you said, wanted to enlist in the Vietnam War, which if you fucking wanted to enlist in Vietnam, you're kind of a psycho.
It says a lot about him.
But also Milius went on to direct Red Dawn, which is like primo 80s Cold War pro-US propaganda. And also, sidebar, directed a film that's quite near and dear to my heart, Conan the Barbarian.
He directed the original Conan?
Yeah, he directed Conan.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I do think that the, more reactionary voice in this movie is most definitely Milius compared to Coppola, who, you look at his filmography and his interests and, seems to be a more progressive guy. And I think is probably part of why he, didn't feel like he could make the Milius script as it was. You see a lot of talk about that in Hearts of Darkness, where he talks about how he needs to rework and rewrite the script to make his vision. But yeah, I didn't know that about John Milius, but that based on the other things that he has made, the other one that he wrote was Clear and Present Danger, which is also kind of a fun movie, but is,
That's a Tom Clancy adaptation.
Yeah, Tom Clancy, right? Fucking very much a right-winger. So I'm not surprised to learn that about him.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, again, the politics, don't get me wrong. Again, this was my pick. I do agree with, everyone else that this is an absolute masterpiece and it's one of my favorite films of all time. But again, like, depending on what mindset I'm in when I view it or whatever, it's not perfect in that sense, like politically speaking.
No.
But I certainly I enjoy the hell out of it.
Yeah,
really.
I'd probably put this in, one of the best films ever made.
I think it's better than The Godfather.
Interesting.
Yeah. But that does change.
I'm not sure I have a specific opinion on that.
That does change here and there.
But it is like, you know how like normally we'll watch a movie and we'll be like, yeah, my favorite scene was this. I have no favorite scene, but a scene that was interesting and horrifying to a certain extent in a certain way that I found interesting was the bridge scene where Johnson is on acid and he has the fucking dog in his like jacket in the front, and he's just like following Willard just like around, and he's just like getting up, he's staring. There's like carnival music going on. Like, it was just so, I don't even know what's the word for it, surreal in a way, but also like so grounded in like the grotesqueness of war. You know, you just have like one person who's screaming from the wire, so you have to get one specialty guy to take out this one person who's still screaming on a wire after you shot up everybody else. And then you just have Johnson on the side, like literally just like zooted out of his fucking mind with a fucking puppy in the front of his jacket. Like, what about that scene makes sense? Because, you know, war is nonsensical, but also this guy's on drugs. They can't find a commanding officer. Like, everything's to shit. They got to get back on the boat. That scene was just wild.
I think that is my favorite scene in the film.
That's a very good one.
For everything you just listed, that's usually the point in the movie where I am once again reminded I'm in awe of, holy fuck, they pulled this off. This is insane that a crew captured this. Like with the lights dangling over the bridge, it's beautiful in its grotesqueness visually. The carnival music, as you mentioned, everything, your brain is melting by that point. And when they kind of go through the trenches, and there are those four guys that are just like listening to Jimi Hendrix smoking pot, they're zooted. Everyone is like having an episode, or they're completely high out of their minds. And I love that moment where you're talking about the guy screaming, and just then all of the audio just pulls away. And you just hear the sound of the guy screaming. Like the guy with the grenade launcher can just kind of hear where he's at, pulls the trigger, kills him. And then Willard goes, "Soldier, do you know who the commanding officer here is?" And he just looks at right down the barrel of the lens and goes, "Yeah." And then walks away. Like, fuck. Like, it gives me such chills. It's insane.
It's operating on nightmare logic.
It's crazy.
Which, you know, I think is an effective way to make an anti-war film. Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Film Majors pop quiz time. If you don't know, don't look it up. Mm-hmm. How many days did this movie shoot for?
I'm going to guess.
Didn't it shoot for a few years?
Okay. What's your guess on day count?
Day count?
Yeah, just throw out a number. Actual production days, not including post.
420, baby.
I'm gonna go with.
Yeah, 420, baby.
I'm gonna go 230.
Mick is almost right on the money. 238 shooting days. Now,
wow.
Nice.
If you are not in the film biz, you may not know, that is wildly
crazy
above the standard.
That's insane.
Of a movie. I feel like, how long did Nope?
Yeah, that's crazy.
How long did Nope shoot?
Nope was, I think, officially 60 something days.
Yeah, and that is a movie with a fucking alien in it.
Yeah.
Spoilers for Nope, but you know, it is no wonder to me that this movie and its accompanying documentary spawned one of my favorite comedy films about the insanity of a film production, Tropic Thunder, because there are almost no movies that have gone this over schedule and this over budget.
Yeah, it's insane.
I can't think of anything
Yeah.
that ballooned to this
he mortgaged
extent.
his house, right?
I believe so. Yeah, he used a bunch of his own assets to finance it. And now he's doing it again, baby.
Yeah.
He's doing it again with Megalopolis, which comes out this year. Literally all self-financed, like $100 million budget.
Yeah, this
You know
is
what's crazy is that I think it was like really, really soon into the shooting schedule that typhoon happened. And then when those sets got washed away, I think I was reading, was it then that just even right then they were already like $2 million over budget?
Something like that.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, there's an interesting Coppola quote from the documentary where he talks about how he's over budget on this, and any big project like the construction of a building goes over budget. So why should it be any different for film? Which just really speaks to his attitude.
It does.
Which I love. He is a man who is not at all concerned with the business of film.
Which is great.
He is concerned with the art of film.
That's why I consider him to be perhaps one of the best living artists that we have of cinema. Like, how he approaches work or not, if you look at his body of work, he's absolutely an artist. And I think that's why we have this kind of inside joke on the show, which is like, oh, the new Francis Ford Coppola movie isn't doing well. It's going to be a masterpiece.
Yeah, the production's a disaster. That's where he cooks, baby.
Every Francis Ford Coppola movie that is considered a legacy picture, if it's Dracula, if it's Godfather, if it's Apocalypse Now.
Dracula's actually the one that came in on time and under budget.
Really?
Yes, Dracula he got
crazy.
Done. That was like the first time where he came in on schedule.
But remember that he ended up firing most of the people that were originally put in by the studio and replaced his family members or his own personal people. And then just like the footage of like him and Gary Oldman going at it, like on behind the scenes, I'm like, yeah, that seems about right. Okay. Maybe it came in on schedule and on budget. He got it done the way the studio wanted, kind of. Right.
I wouldn't say that I am super, super, super a Coppola girl in that I'm a Francis Ford Coppola girl, but in that I'm a Sofia Coppola girl. And I think that he instilled a lot of that artistic visionary attitude into her, because she's like very, very strictly like an indie filmmaker. Like she very specifically like has small budget films so that she has like complete artistic control over. And obviously like maybe you wouldn't get to do that if you weren't a fucking Coppola, but but I mean, like I've always respected that about her as well.
Also,
It's a good practice.
great wine.
Great wine.
Great wine. I had some Coppola wine last week.
I
Delicious.
do enjoy Coppola wine,
Delicious.
for sure.
We're not sponsored, but Francis, if you'd like to.
Another scene that I really want to talk about that I also really love, which is great about just kind of ratcheting up the madness, is the Playboy Bunny concert.
Oh, yeah, that scene's also really fucked up.
That's a really fucked up scene. And just
there aren't a lot of like
That's
really
fucking weird.
and the
joyful
music
scenes.
where the helicopter is like going up and those guys are just legit just fucking hanging from the helicopter and then they fall in. I want to point out something. I found this out, that this is a perfect movie to follow up Clue. Because if you look closely at one of those playgirls, that's Yvette.
Are you kidding me?
That is Colleen Camp as
Shut up.
Playmate number 1.
Oh my god.
She is Playmate number 1. And
I'd recognize that face anywhere.
she has great talent. Great talent. I paused it, and I paused it, and I looked.
Did you?
And I was like, that's definitely Colleen Camp's face.
Oh my god.
No, it is though. She's the one that has. She's kind of. She's not the blue cowgirl. She has like the brown top. But that's fucking Colleen Camp. Isn't that nuts? That's crazy.
Wild.
Also, okay. Here's another kind of weird casting
so
thing.
many wild things.
Another casting thing.
I've been normal and cool this whole time.
So there's a game. Here's a little trick, folks. Here's a little trick. There's a game called Kevin Bacon where you use an actor. If I say like Marlon Brando and then Kevin Bacon, you have to like say as in as few films as possible using actors. How do you get from Marlon Brando to Kevin Bacon and been like the same movie? You can use fucking what's the guy's name from Reservoir Dogs and
Tim Roth.
the other guy.
Harvey Keitel.
You can use Harvey Keitel for this.
Yes, because Harvey Keitel was originally cast in the Martin Sheen role.
Harvey Keitel, and not only that, he appears in one shot in this movie, which is when the boat is departing from the dock, and you see Willard there wearing a hat. You never see him like wearing a hat in any other part of the movie. That's Harvey Keitel.
Wow.
So he was able to get one shot off. But yeah, originally it was going to be Harvey Keitel, and I think Francis Ford Coppola said like he loves Harvey Keitel, but the problem is Willard needed to be someone that you can impart your own perspective onto.
And Harvey Keitel's too specific.
He's too specific. Like he's too
can
much
see
of
that.
kind of a tough guy, where like Martin Sheen is really good at kind of having this blank fucking holy shit what is happening, and then you can impart your own perspective onto what he's feeling. It's harder to do with Harvey Keitel. But yeah, I can't believe fucking Martin Sheen had a goddamn heart attack in this movie, which is just fucking gossip.
Yeah.
It looks like he's in great shape, so,
Yeah.
Yeah. That's, perhaps the kid, Alexis, I might be coming around to your condemnation of the production conditions.
Yeah. It's for art.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Shocking news.
I know.
In shocking news, someone working on Apocalypse Now had a heart attack.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a fucking insane tape where Coppola is talking to someone who like blabbed to someone in Hollywood that Martin Sheen had a heart attack. And he's like, unless Martin is dead, you say that it's gossip. Until I say Martin Sheen has passed away. He's like, of course, if Martin is not doing well, then he will go home. But the doctors are telling me that he is a healthy young man and he should be right as rain in 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah, Francis Ford Coppola was livid.
Also,
livid.
To be fair, he did alter
that Martin Sheen had a fucking heart attack.
That someone blabbed about
that
it
someone
to
told
Hollywood.
He's like, that's not your job. That's my job.
To be fair to Coppola, he did like alter the production schedule after that happened, so that Sheen was primarily shooting close-ups and his double was shooting a lot more of the action.
His brother.
Oh,
that's his brother.
His brother,
That's
yeah.
his brother. The anytime you see like him shirtless from the back, that's what's his brother's name? So Estevez, something. But yeah,
It's
that's
something
his brother,
Estevez.
which is crazy.
I can't remember.
Yeah, the things they had to. I can't imagine working on this fucking movie. Insane. And there's a movie called The Lost City of Z that was directed by James Gray, who I love him as a director, and he gives great interviews, and he's talking about, I do a lot of these movies, and I wanted to do a jungle movie.
No.
Because I feel like everyone does a jungle movie, and they do it incorrectly.
Don't do a jungle movie.
Because they William Friedkin did it, John Huston did it, Francis Ford Coppola did it.
John McTiernan did it.
And they always go at the wrong times, like these weather shows up, and like they don't plan it out well. I think you could actually do it correctly. Oh. And James Gray goes to the Amazon, does The Lost City of Z, and says, no, you can't do it. It's hard to do. Jungle movies are impossible.
Side note, I thought it was Joe, and it is Joe. It's Joe Estevez.
Joe Estevez.
Thank you.
There we go.
Yeah, I am glad you brought up the jungle movie thing.
Yeah.
Because it is incredible how many a great director thinks that they're going to be the guy to make a jungle movie that goes off without a hitch.
Nope.
Shooting in the jungle's a bad time, guys.
Yeah.
But you know what? I hope someone tries to do it again.
Oh, yeah,
Because there
I'm
have
there
been some
for it.
pretty great jungle movies. I'll work on your jungle movie. I'll get
Great.
bitten by fire ants.
I
Why
won't.
not?
Fuck it. Why
Nope.
not? Do scorpions.
Nope.
I'm ready.
Nope. You know when Chef comes back into the fucking boat after they see the tiger,
Yeah.
and he just freaks out and
Yeah.
he starts taking his shirt off and he's just like, tiger, I was gonna die. Yeah, that would be me with pretty
I
much
just wanted to
everything.
cook,
There'd be a
man.
big enough bug and I would like run away. I'd be throwing my clothes off, going into the river, realize something touched my foot, come out of the river, lose my mind. Yeah, never. Don't ever ask me to be on your jungle movie.
That's right. You don't. Yeah, you someone who's not already like a fan of the outdoors. Jungle movies off
Heading
the
into
table.
the jungle. Alexis, when I make my jungle
See, I
movie,
think
you can
that's like-
be my editor.
Yeah, there you go.
Great. I love it.
I know.
You know, here's the thing is there's so much about this movie that I'm just like, that's crazy that they would do that. And me not being an outdoors person, I'm like, that's crazy that they would think about doing that and that they did that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't believe that Lawrence Fishburne was 14 years old in this movie. That's bananas.
Yeah, he was just a boy.
Yeah.
His mom's fucking
That is
note
sad.
or tape to him.
Yeah.
So fucking sad
Oh,
as it's like playing.
Watch out for the
Yeah.
bullets.
Also, I'm not gonna. Yeah, watch out for the bullets. Stay away from the bullets. I was like, great. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. What was the other thing? Oh yeah, I think part of the reason why I had such a big freak out in the middle of the movie was because the puppy, not only just like it was the combination obviously of them shooting the fucking Vietnamese peasants, but then they bring out a puppy, and I really had a very deep fear that you guys had bamboozled me into watching another dog die, and I was so incensed.
Listen,
Like so,
That's
and
probably
I
what
waited
put it
for
over the
like a
edge.
good 2 minutes. Like, I waited for like a good 2 minutes for that dog to die, and then the dog finally didn't die, and I was like, okay, that's it. I gotta take a break. This is too rough right now.
yeah. The dog dies not on camera.
I have like PTSD from they must have dropped it in like the, at least I didn't have to see it happen.
it might be
you know?
okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine. It's good. But yeah, this
Yeah,
this
a puppy
movie
being dropped in a fucking river.
It might be fine. It can swim.
this movie is not a humane film, as we found out from the American Humane Society of Animals.
Oh yeah, the
Yeah.
animals were harmed during the making of this
Animals
film.
were harmed.
The people who played like Kurtz's army were like
local tribe.
a local tribe from the north of where they were shooting, and performed like some ritual killings of animals on set, including the death of the ox at the end of the movie.
Yeah,
That one's real.
that's real.
Real?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do they not bleed the same way?
Nah, it's. I mean, it is like we watched some behind the scenes footage because there was some stuff that they were doing like outside of the filming of the movie as well, just like
Yeah.
performing religious rites.
Yeah.
Where you see them kill an ox, and it does kind of look like that. It's
They don't bleed immediately because the cut is so quick.
yeah.
So, yeah. But
I was so comforted by the fact that I just thought that can't be possibly real.
It's 1977 when they're shooting this, Alexis.
in the jungle,
yeah, things are different in the jungle.
things are different in the jungle for sure. But they ate it.
Don't make that white man's excuse.
Yeah, I'll take
you know
that.
what?
I'll take that.
You know, something else though, which I don't know if they talk about this in the Heart of Darkness, but so they got investigated during the making of this movie because they had like a local fixer, like a local Filipino guy, that was like, oh, you need dead bodies. I got you. And shows, because this is for the
No.
final Colonel Kurtz thing. So all of the prop, like, dead bodies that you see are thankfully prop dead bodies. Because the original guy that showed up had real dead bodies.
It's crazy to me that between Apocalypse Now and Poltergeist is the one that uses real human
dead bodies.
remains.
Yeah, no, that's fucking nuts.
If you asked me which one of those, just like blind test which one used real human remains, I would not have guessed Poltergeist.
Well, that's because it almost nearly happened where he just showed up with all of these cadavers. And then, like the local government came in and saying, hey, there's the guy here that has like bodies because we're looking for him. It's like, we haven't shot with him on camera yet, so it's all right. We're not doing anything like that. And then they brought in fake dead bodies. But very nearly, you would have seen actual corpses.
Well, I'm glad we didn't go that direction.
Wow.
Yeah. Which, again, just speaks to the level of what the fuck happened out there when they were making this goddamn movie.
Going a little crazy. Coppola was thinking about killing himself.
There's literally a shot of him holding a gun to his head. And he looks kind of happy about it. Like, I'm not going to lie.
All right.
Yeah, well, this has been a big one, hasn't it?
We have been running for quite a long time. I think we need to get into final thoughts on this film.
Final thoughts.
Alexis, please take it away.
This movie made me deeply unhappy, but the cinematography is great. And I can tell that the cinematography is great. But it made me big sad, and the world makes me big sad. So I guess good job, Coppola, for that.
Honestly, I did feel pretty similar, but in maybe a more positive way, if that's possible.
Yeah.
Like,
I feel you, but in a more positive way.
I did watch this and be like,
I feel you in a more positive way.
I was watching this and I was like, humanity is an inherently evil species. This is hell. This is a nightmare. This is also one of the most masterfully made films in American cinema. It's crazy that Coppola took his kind of like more classic, essentially mastered the style of like the classic Hollywood epic with the first two Godfather movies. And, if you like The Conversation and don't think it's boring, which I do, The Conversation as well. And then just made something so groundbreaking and forward-thinking and surreal.
Mm-hmm.
I will watch this movie again, but probably not soon because it is a very bad time.
Yeah.
Well done, Francis.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. And I think, Alexis, on today's episode, you asked a really good question that I think a lot of us should ask, which is like, at which point is like malpractice on set or just poor choices or just really bold choices, like just straight up unsafe and unethical versus it just adding to the allure of genius to this director and just giving all this sort of credit. And I think that's a very valid question.
To be clear, you shouldn't run your set like
you
this.
should not. And that's something I'll finish off with is like, look, I absolutely adore this film. And the more I learn about the making of it, the more I am fascinated by it. And it's fascinating because the way you learn about disasters, it's just fascinating how something can unfold. Is this as serious as anything like that? Is it like Vietnam? No, it's not like that. It was all of the horrible shit that Francis himself put himself through. Was it all worth it in the end? I can't speak to that. But what I can speak to is that every time I watch this movie, I am blown away by what was achieved, by what all of these artists and professionals came together to do. Will live on in infamy, and it's an absolute mark of a masterpiece. Not a good time, I would agree. But I think it's a hell of a strong way to start out Boat Month. And I've been wanting to talk about this movie with the both of you since this podcast got started. So, yeah. Well done, Francis. Alexis?
You know, my final closing thought is what an interesting way to talk about his movie and saying that it is the Vietnam War, because I think most of us, I should say, I would hope all of us would agree that the Vietnam War was truly senseless on the U.S. part. And I don't think that there's something senseless about Apocalypse Now. So, you know, on top of the other reason to maybe not conflate it, I think that that's an unfair assumption because, you know, there is purpose and drive to this movie.
Good take.
Good take.
Despite it being,
I agree that the Vietnam War was a bad thing. And with what you said, Alexis.
Mick, where are we going next?
Well, that's a good question. It's been a little dark. It's been a strong, confident start to Boat Month, but I will admit it's been a little dark.
I swear to God, if you fucking pick Deliverance.
So it's gonna get even worse. No, I thought we would lighten it up a little bit. You know what? I almost put Deliverance on the list, but I knew it would be too much.
It is a riverboat film.
It's a riverboat movie.
You should put it on the list. It's a good movie.
I will do that later.
Consider it.
But we're going to take a little break from the river, and we're going to stop by this little dock on the corner of the little riverbank that I like to call the Alexis Dock. And that dock has a boat that is docked at the Alexis Dock.
Okay.
And you know what that boat is called?
What's it called?
It's called Ghost Ship.
Oh, shit. This is the one you chose. I was talking to my dad this morning about how I was like, oh, I don't know. Is he going to choose Overboard or not?
So I think,
Dang.
I'll be honest, I think Overboard was going to be another pick.
I love the opening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the opening scene of Ghost Ship, though.
We are heading out to the high seas on a ghoulish cruise in 2002's horror mystery Ghost Ship, directed by the incomparable Steve Beck, starring Emily Browning, Francesca Retondini, and Carl Urban and Gabriel Byrne.
Oh, shit. Good cast.
Yes.
And Isaiah Washington.
Where can you find it, Mick?
You can find it on Amazon Prime or any other places that you'd like to rent your videos. Or you can
find it on my DVD shelf.
Yeah,
because this is one of my favorite B horror movies.
And Zach, you've never seen this, right?
I've never seen Ghost Ship.
All right, well,
it's tough to find a horror movie I haven't seen.
Let's just say buckle up, buddy.
If you're a listener to this podcast, or, you know, if you want to tell your friends about it, tell them how we covered Apocalypse Now and Ghost Ship back to fucking back.
Yeah.
How are we not the #1 film podcast on the internet?
Yeah, we're all over the place.
That's motherfucking range.
Our thumb is on the pulse of whatever the fuck this is.
Oh my God.
Hey, that's a thing. You never know with Boat Month,
you
man.
You never fucking know.
You never know what's going to come on the horizon. But hey, this was a great episode, y'all. I had a good time.
Well, wow. If you want to find us, the Film Majors, on social media, you can find us at Film Majors Pod on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. And our TikTok may be up by the time this episode comes out. Stay tuned. Follow us. Keep listening to the episodes. We'll let you know. And if you want to shoot us an email, email us at filmmakerspod@gmail.com. Tell me what that Flight of the Bumblebee joke is from. I really want to know.
Cool. Well, listeners,
give us a rating.
I'll see you on the top deck next week.